I've been asked a lot of times about renting property in Thailand. It is, considering the existing property laws regarding foreigners unable to own land in their own name, a much easier way to go. It just saves a huge amount of grief. My advice on property ownership has always been the same. If you can't own it, why would you buy it? It's okay for people like me. I'm married, I've been married for a long time, and if I found a property that I could afford, it's likely we'd buy it and it would go in Pi's name. You've got to consider that we have a son, so ultimately everything goes to him. So I don't have a problem with it. But if you're single and you're looking to buy something, knowing that you can't own it, it's just not worth the grief. It really isn't. There is talk of change. The government recently announced they're looking into allowing foreigners to own a 99-year lease. It's still not freehold. And my attitude again is the same. If you cannot own what you're paying for, why would you bother paying for it? Renting, of course, is a lot easier. You simply sign a contract and you pay your monthly rent. Now, of course, there are variables to everything, and they might include things like how long you want to rent for. If you're looking at long-term rental, which is generally cheaper, then you're going to have to sign a minimum of 3-month contract. In fact, most of what I see now is a bare minimum of 6 months or a year. They won't want to give you the long-term price if you're looking at less than 6 months. So take that into consideration when you're looking to rent. How much you'll pay really depends. It depends on your location and your budget and your lifestyle. Rental prices really do vary from region to region. Phuket, massively expensive. Pattaya, yeah, there's some pretty good deals to be had there. Hua Hin, same. But Bangkok, again, it can all be a little bit expensive. If you're looking for real cheap, then this is the place up here. A friend of mine has just rented an apartment and it cost him 2,500 baht per month. Not bad. He actually saw a house just after he signed the contract for 3,000 baht a month. Again, it's pretty cheap up here. The big question is, where do you find these properties? There are 4 primary sources. The first is just driving around and looking for signs on gates. It's not so prevalent up here, but in Phuket, Hua Hin, Pattaya, Bangkok, you'll generally find people put signs on their gates for sale, for rent, with a telephone number, and it's just a case of keeping your eyes peeled and then making those phone calls. The second source, of course, is the internet. There's lots of real estate websites out there listing properties for rent. So yeah, just type in the location you're in, for instance Chiang Rai real estate, and see what comes up. There is a downside to this, of course. You've got to remember that the real estate agents are not doing this for free. They take a commission, which means it generally bumps up the price of the rental. Obviously the owners of the property want to cover that cost, so they'll generally increase the price. A third way is through word of mouth. Just go and ask the locals. It does help, of course, if you speak Thai, but they are a good source of information and they generally know what's going on and what's available in any particular area that you may be looking at. The fourth and final method, of course, is where you're staying. If you come on holiday, for instance, and you book into a hotel or resort, you can always ask the hotel staff. Generally, these are local people and they will know. A word of caution here, though. You can find that they'll bump up the price so they pocket some money. It did happen to me when I first moved to Phuket. What happened was I was looking for a house for rent. I asked the reception staff at the hotel and they said, yes, we know of a particular house that you might be interested in at 19,000 baht a month. I was scheduled to go that afternoon and have a look at this property. But in the morning I'd already booked a real estate agent who took me to a property and it was 12,000 baht a month. In the afternoon, those guys that said it was 19 took me to exactly the same property. So they were looking at pocketing 7,000 baht a month out of it. I didn't make a big deal about it. It's just not worth it. But, it's a pitfall you need to be aware of. Look upon it as a cost. There's always a trickle down. There's always people going to want to earn a commission from, either renting or selling property. And there's a bit of an old joke that everybody is a real estate agent in Thailand. It's just the way it works. So there you have it. That's 4 sources you can use to try and find a property to rent. It's as easy as that. Now, as you know, Pi and I have been thinking about finding a place of our own. I would dearly love to get away from the noise. And this, boys and girls, is what happened to us this morning. Check this out. Well, as you know, Pi and I have been looking for a little place of our own, something that's not too expensive, and we just drove past a house in the village on the main road, but it's right down the back end of the village, so it's very, very quiet. I mean, as you can see, it's just all fields, and this is the little house. Now, you best be sitting down, folks, because the rent on this place is 1,000 baht a month. That's it, 1,000 baht a month. Absolutely amazing. There's only one snag. No, I can afford the 1,000. The snag is it got rented out, yeah, about 3 hours ago, and it actually got rented out to Fam's teacher. I mean, that's a downer, isn't it? This would have been perfect because it's so far down the back end of the village. It's completely peaceful. They've got a little bit of a pond here as well, but it's all dried out now. But in the rainy season, that'll bring the water level back up. And there's enough parking there for 3 vehicles. Don't have a vehicle, so that's not a problem, is it? A really good friend of mine, I call him Dad. He once said to me, son, he says, a good job you got some bad luck because you wouldn't have any at all. That's about the size of it. Oh, such a shame, because it is beautiful. Absolutely stunning. It's a nice little modern Western style home. There's not many of them in the village. But for 1,000 baht a month, yeah. I just said to her, I'll give you 2. But no, we can't do that. So never mind. We'll keep looking, we'll find something. Let's go and do some fishing, that'll cheer us up. So there you go, there's the story. And yeah, it was a bit disappointing to say the least. We thought we'd found a house and just a couple of hours late. That's life, isn't it, I suppose? You've got to look on the bright side. There's always tomorrow. But I'm sure you're dying to know more details about the home. We did ask. It consists of 140 square metres of living space, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, one of them an ensuite, and it had parking for 3 cars. The parking area is basically like a mini sala, so you can put them under cover in shade. Saves the sun beating down on them all day long. It would have been perfect though, because Pi would have been able to sell bits and pieces from undercover. Yeah, a bit of a shame really. It sat on just under 1,600 square metres, so a rye. It was approximately 4 kilometres from where we're living now. So it had been about half a kilometre outside of the main village, which would have been perfect of course, because no noise. Yes, those noisy neighbours wouldn't have had to deal with them anymore. Yeah. Now the big question that's probably on your mind is, why so cheap? Why only 1,000 baht? You know, what's wrong with it? Well, apparently the lady was saying that she built it a couple of years ago. It's just 2 years old, and she put it on the market to rent and sell. The rental price was 3,000 baht a month, and she's never been able to find anybody to rent it. And then Fam's teacher came along and said to her, you know, I'd like to rent it, but 3 grand's too much. Up here, of course, they don't get paid very much. I mean, you know, some of them are lucky if they earn 2,000-3,000 baht a month. So paying 3,000 baht a month rent is just not possible. So she agreed. She basically said, yeah, okay, I'll let you rent it for 1,000 baht. You know, it's better that somebody's in there taking care of the place than it just falling to bits in there. So yeah, a wise move on her behalf. She did say, however, she'd rather sell it. Now, obviously, you know, going back to what I said earlier about I can't own land, I wouldn't have a problem putting it in Pi's name. Again, you know, we've been married a long time, and ultimately it's going to go to Fam anyway. The asking price was 1.2 million, but she said if you paid cash, 1 million. For the size of the home and the land size, it's actually not a bad price to pay. Up here, I've seen prices with a Chinook title on the main road for between 1 million to 1.5 million. So for 1 million with a 3-bedroom, 140 square metre home, not bad at all. It even had a small pond. There you go. But it was a shame, such a shame that we couldn't rent it. Poor old pie, look. She wanted to rent a house. Didn't get it. Have a lie. Next time.
Yeah.
Next time. There's always tomorrow. Well, that's about all for today, guys. Whatever you do, have a fantastic day and stay safe. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now, guys.